In this video, I'm going to soak my ranunculus, unbox my dahlias that I bought from Poundland so you can see the quality of those. There was a bit of a surprise there. And then I'm going to plant up the ranunculus when they finish soaking, and the dahlias. I'll do the dahlias first because the ranunculus take 4 hours. So to soak the ranunculus, I mean, really, honestly, it's not rocket science. I've got a jar of water, clean fresh water here. And since all my ranunculus are the same variety, I don't need to separate them out and label the jars. I'll just put them all in here. They all go in. Make sure there's enough water so they're not all sort of on top of each other. They've got enough room. Also, you want the water oxygenated. So these will soak for 4 hours. Some people say 6. I've never found I needed to do more than 4. But what I do is, as and when I remember, ideally every hour, I change the water and sort of really splash about some nice fresh water in there so that it's really oxygenated water to keep it all fresh and to discourage bacteria. So that's what I do with these, and I'm going to set those aside now. I think I had 3 packets to put in here. Also do this with anemones. This is the same method for buying anemones, which are also for sale at this time. And the reason I'm doing these videos, I just wanted to show you there, the instructions don't tell you to do this. So if you're planting these or anemones, these ranunculus or anemones out in a container, they're going to be too dry and you probably won't get a result with them at all. If you plant them in the soil and we have a nice wet period, you might get lucky, they'll come up. But this way, you can avoid the sort of variations of the weather and just make sure they go into the ground nice and moist, and they will want to stay moist when they're in the ground. So I'm going to put these to one side in a cool sort of place, cool dark place, and then I'm going to change the water every hour ideally, change and oxygenate the water. And then I'm going to now turn to my dahlias, which I also bought from Poundland yesterday. For the dahlias is to try, ooh. So it says I had 2. All right, I'm going to put my glasses on for this. So this one has a sprout. So what I'm going to do, I was thinking about it before I made the video. I'm going to plant these up, but not in a permanent position. Oh, this one has a sprout too. I don't know. Can you see that little sprout there? Just there. I'll try and get that for you. So what I was going to do with these was, I thought I still have time it's far too cold to put these outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant them in containers, not their permanent position. And I am going to hopefully get some cuttings. If I get more than 1 sprout from them, they look pretty good condition. I don't think there's any mouldy tubers on here. I might get another one. See, looks like I'll probably get another one there. So I thought what I might do is take cuttings from these rather than just plant them out as they are. We'll see. If I only get 1 stem, then I'll just plant them out with their 1 stem and they'll bulk up and I'll be able to take cuttings next year. We'll see. So I'll have to play that one by ear. But what I'll do to monitor that, I'm going to plant them just in containers in soil. They will be completely covered, and then we'll see how many sprouts we get from them. So that's those 2. So I need to keep these. These ones I do need to keep separate so I know which ones are which. So these are my collarette dahlias over there. Let's have a look at the cactus mix. I'm not sure. Oh, that feels, I got to say, that feels a little bit mouldy. So, and it smells. So that's a shame. I mean, you could technically take that back, but honestly, it'll cost me more to go to town. So I'm a little bit annoyed by that. But, you know, this one's okay. So it's a good job I got this out, actually. So it is a good job. Even if you're not going to plant them up, it's a good job to open them up and check. No, every single tuber is mouldy. So I've got to throw that out. I think I might have some tumours in this one here. And the tubers feel nice and firm. So no mouldy tubers there. So, okay, I only ended up with one really, that I kept one viable dahlia there. And then I'm going to speed up the final one, which was the pom-pom dahlias. And I again, one of them wasn't viable. And when I thought about it really afterwards, I could have checked that in the shop really, because obviously even in the packet you can feel if the tubers are squishy or firm. So do that when you're buying them in the shop. See if you can go around those tubers in the bags and just see if they're soggy. If they're squishy, forget it. And same as if they're withered. So I should have just done that. That's on me really. Anyhow, I've done it now. So I've got two tubers for £1 each, and I've got 2 more tubers for 50p each. So that's not too bad really. Overall, I mean, you look at some of these garden centres and stuff, and they're selling the tubers for £4 each. So, okay, they're probably more speciality, but even so, I'm pretty happy with that. So next thing is to pot these up, but not permanently, because first of all, it's too cold to pot up dahlias outside. Far too cold. So I wouldn't probably even consider that till more mid to the end of May, maybe mid-May. But what I also want to do is try and get cuttings off these. So I'm going to pot them up in a way that's going to make it easier for me to take cuttings, assuming they will make enough, stems for me to take cuttings from. If they don't, then eventually I will just pot them out as they are. So I'm going to be using my foil roasting tins. Make sure they're deep enough that the entire tuber can be covered. Maybe the stem doesn't matter so much, or the nodes, but definitely the fat tubers and the roots need to be covered. So you need to make sure that any dish you're using is going to be deep enough. And also using, the reason I like using the foil tins, by the way, is they're cheap. I have them in. I use them for everything, roasts, gardening, and also I use them as disposable painting palettes. And then here is my homemade compost, so I'm going to use that just because I don't want to go out and buy any compost. I mean, why would I when I've got my homemade anyway? So I'm going to line the tin first so that the dahlia tubers aren't sitting on the the tray, which would be completely pointless to them. And then I'm going to like Tetris, fit the tubers around, sort of trying to label them as I go. You don't kind of need to see the whole thing. I'll speed it up as fast as I can. Oh yeah, just want to say, I don't like putting eggshells in my compost. I'm going to stop doing it. So this was the first 2, and just going to place them on now sideways like this. If you do have any sprouting nodes that you can see, have those sitting upwards, so the sprouting node will be on that neck bit, not the fat tubers. So all the fat tubers and the roots need to be covered, but the neck bit doesn't necessarily, because we're going to be taking cuttings. It'll be quite handy if we can have access to that. But every other part of this tuber, as I say, needs to be covered. Sideways on, not deep down, fingers down, sideways on, because the shoots grow up at a right angle almost from those tubers. Okay, so and then I'm just going to cover it with the compost, and then I'm going to dampen. The compost is quite damp anyway because I had it outside, but I am also going to spray it as well. And that's it, them done. And I'm going to put this actually under lights because I have a spare place on a warm mat under lights in my kitchen with my little homemade growing area. So I now have space because a lot of stuff has gone outside. So I am actually going to put these. I've never put dahlias under lights before like that. But as I say, I want to take these cuttings. And this is an experimental video as well. So I do have a little experiment section, a growing section in my playlist where I do little experiments for everyone. Usually on those kinds of questions that people are constantly asking on YouTube. And there isn't really a clear answer. So I'm doing lots of things like that. Anyway, so check out that playlist. It's growing. There's not much in it at the moment, but there's a few things. So spray it all with water. Make sure they don't dry out. And I just wanted to make a note that I've got other tubers outside, And I think these foil tins are perfect for growing on radiator, you know, like on window ledges, maybe on a south-facing window above a radiator, indoors, where it's nice and warm and sunny. I think they would be perfect. So I'm going to do some of my other dahlias, which I'm going to divide from last year. I'm going to start them off in these trays on my window ledges. All right, so let's switch back to the ranunculus, which have now finished soaking after 4 hours. So let's have a look at how different they are compared to when I got them out of the packets earlier. So as you can see, they're much bigger and more swollen and just look generally, you know, like a living plant compared to the dried version on the right. All right, so now we've just got to plant them up. And if you're going to plant them in containers, you can still plant them the same way as I'm planting them. I'm planting them in temporary containers because this is an experiment and I want to know where they are going to be. And I also want to, I haven't decided, in all honesty, where I'm going to put them yet. Technically, what I'm doing in a way is pre-sprouting them, except I'm not going to go and put them in a dark room, in a basement or anything like that. I'm literally just going to put them outside because the conditions are pretty much right for them now. And the only thing I would say is don't let them dry out. Now, these little plot pots here are not suitable if you're going to grow the plant through to maturation. You will need a proper container, planting container for that. But because I don't know where I'm going to put them yet, I am just going to start them off here. And as soon as those green shoots become significant, I will then hopefully have somewhere to put them. But I also needed to keep them isolated because don't forget, this is an experiment and I want to show you the results. Right, so the other important factor is you must cover them. So they must be in complete darkness and the soil will do that. A good layer, inch or more of compost will put them in complete darkness. And then once again, moisten them again because having gone through the process of plumping them up, you do not want them to dry out. They will not respond well if they dry out. They may not even grow at all. If you want to do them like this yourself, you can. And then as soon as the green comes up, start to see the green leaves, then you can plant them up like you would if you bought them as a ready-made plant in the supermarket. Plant them up in your container. And you can plant them quite closely together so that the container fills right out. All right, I hope that video helped. I have a full playlist on ranunculus if you want to know more. And also don't forget you can do anemones this way. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you again in my next video.